boys and girls. So we're gonna talk about using time intervals. And so for this week's lesson, we're going to start out by looking at a number line very similar to our last lesson. This is just a continuation of practice. And we're going to use those open number lines again to be able to find whether we're looking for a start time, whether we're looking for an elapsed time, which is the change in time, or if we're looking for the ending time. And so one of the things I thought about using was color, because I thought that that might make it a little easier for us and to be able to determine what we're looking for. And so for this teaching lesson, it starts out by just explaining that you can use an open number line to find the start time when you know the ending time and the elapsed time. So if the ending time is 4:05 p.m., we're going to use a number line to find the starting time if the elapsed time is 35 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to just create a number line because there is not one on this particular problem. So I'm just going to throw one in here. I must have forgot to put it in there when I printed out my paper. And so if I know that the ending time is 4:05, and I see that right here, then I can go ahead and put that at the end of my number line, 4:05, and it's a PM. Now, I also know that the elapsed time happens to be 35 minutes. So elapsed time is going to be the time that's between the start and the end time. So this is one of those situations where you're going to be working backwards. It's a little different from before. So I know I'm going backwards in time by 35 minutes. So I'm going to start with what's easiest. If I'm at 4:05 and I'm going backwards in time by 35 minutes, I'm going to want to actually break this up, this 35 minutes, into 30 minutes and then 5 minutes. And it's going to make that easier. This might look familiar to a lot of you, that number mountain that we've talked about. So we're breaking that 35 minutes up into a 30 and a 5. And then I'm going to take my 4:05 and I'm going to make a jump, and it's going to be by 5M, which is 5 minutes. So if I go 5 minutes back in time at 4:05, I know I'm landing at 4 o'clock. Then I'm going to go back in time again. I've already done my 5 minutes. This really no longer exists because I broke it into the 30 and the 5. And then I'm going to go back again by 30 minutes. And so I've got a lot of options with this. Some of you will be able to jump back by that whole 30 minutes. Some of you might need to jump back by 10-minute increments, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 10-minute increments, and I'm going to make my 3 jumps. And each one of those, I'm going to put a 10, a 10, and a 10. So I know if it's 4 o'clock and if I go back in time by 10 minutes, I know that it would be 3:50. I go back in time by another 10 minutes, it would be 3:40. And I go back in time by another 10 minutes, it would be 3:30 p.m. So I know that the answer to this particular question would be 3:30 p.m. That's what the starting time would be if my ending time was 4:05 and my elapsed time was 35 minutes. So this is how you would do a problem like that. Now, just for additional practice, I'm going to go ahead and work on number 2 as well, or number 1 as well. This is the number 1 kind of practice, but I'm going to use it as a teaching problem. And so it says to use the number line to find the starting time if the elapsed time is 45 minutes. So if I look at my ending time, which it just happens to be color-coded in red, I know that I've got my red, I know that I've got my blue, so I'm going to be looking for my green. And that's going to be the important key with the colors, is knowing the red is that at the end, the elapsed time is in blue, which is the change, and the beginning time is, start time is going to be in green. So I am going to use my pencil, and I have to think, okay, my 45 minutes, what could I break those minutes up into to make it easier for me to be able to move back? Well, I know I'm at 2:15, so I always try to get to an even hour. So if I'm at 2:15, I'm going to try to take a jump back, and I actually want to land at 2 o'clock, just because it's going to be easier for me to figure out what the beginning time is if I land on a perfect hour. So if I'm at 2:15 and I want to get to 2 o'clock, I know that my elapsed time in between those two times are going to be 15 minutes. So if I have 45, and I'm going to do like a little math on the side over here, and I've already went back in time by 15 minutes, and yes, this is math that a lot of you can do in your head, but I know that my 5 minus 5 is going to be 0, my 4 minus 1 is going to be 3, so I need to come back in time by an additional 15 minutes, or by an additional 30 minutes, sorry. So if I wanted to, for those of you that are ready, you can make that big 30-minute jump back in time. For those of you that need to break it up into your 10 minutes, I would do that as well. So I'm going to do the 10-minute just because I think it's easier for my mind. And I'm going to say 10, 10. I know I'm putting minuses. It doesn't matter whether they're minuses or not. I just know that I'm moving in that backwards motion. So if it's 2 a.m. at this point and I'm coming back by my 10 minutes, and they're 10 minutes because I'm trying to reach that 30. So 10, 10, 10 is my 30. So if it's 2 o'clock, going back by 10 minutes is going to be 1:50. Going back by another 10 minutes is going to be 1:40. And going back by another 10 minutes is going to be 1:30. So as you can see, if I had done all my math correctly, had moved back by my 45 minutes, this is 15, 25, 35, 45. I went back in time by 45 minutes. I was at 2:15, going back 15 minutes. I landed on 2 o'clock. Going back by my 10 minutes is 1:50. 10 minutes more is 1:40. And 10 minutes more is 1:30. So the answer to this particular question for my start time would be 1:30. And this, of course, would be a.m. So why don't you go ahead, practice number 2. Again, I'm going to give you a little clue. We know we're dealing with our end time, and I purposely did not have it in color because I want for you guys to start to notice that since this is your end time, this is going to be your end time. That's your red time. And then I also want for you to notice that your 45 minutes is going to be your blue time. That is your elapsed time. That's your change. So what color does that leave? That's going to be what you're looking for. So why don't you go ahead and work on number 2, and again at the end of the week I will post the answer. I will go ahead and start a different video, and I will go ahead and work on these 2 problems for you for your next practice.